Alright, this is lesson 4 of U.S. history. We're looking at the Native American cultural groups, and as you can see from the map, there are several different cultural group areas of the Native Americans in North America, and the primary factor that made these civilizations develop and cultures develop differently was the climate they were in. Based on their climate, they had to have different ways of obtaining food, from farming, hunting, fishing, hunting and gathering. I mean, from their traditions, from their food, the way they lived and the way their food was obtained, they had to develop different types of cultures. And so they developed much differently, actually, in different areas of the country. One of the areas was the Northwest. The Eskimos, Inuits, lived near the Arctic Circle. Of course, they had to hunt and gather more than anything else because you could not grow things in that area. They lived in igloos and also in fur-based kind of tent structures. The igloos you might think would not be very sturdy, but what they would do is they would take fire and melt parts of the igloo and then let it refreeze into hard ice to seal it up. So they became very strong and sturdy structures. They also domesticated wolves into dogs, and they'd use dogs for travel. You've seen the dog sleds and things like that, and they'd also use dogs to help them hunt. They were smart people who would do whatever it takes to survive up in very harsh conditions. Farther south, along the Pacific coast, the tribes were more based on fishing and also taking the plentiful resources from the forest. These people also were known for building totem poles. There you can see the region of the Inuits and Eskimos far in the north. And there's still people that live there today and live a similar type of lifestyle, just with better structures and better technology. There's the totem poles of the Canadian Northwest. In the west and southwest, you had tribes that lived in adobe houses, which is hardened clay, similar to a brick, but they wouldn't be in blocks. They would be plastered together, and then the sun would bake it into a hard substance, giving them good structure. These people are pretty smart. They used irrigation systems to water their plants and allowed them to grow corn and beans. They also oftentimes would build their structures on the side of cliffs and use ladders to protect them. They could pull ladders up when an enemy came. So some of those tribes would be the Hopi, Anasazi, Zuni, and Pueblo. And they lived in this area right here. On the Great Plains, these are probably the most famous Native American groups that you've seen. These groups are famous for being in the movies and on TV shows. They were nomadic. They had to follow the buffalo because they could not farm. So the reason they couldn't farm is because the soil was not fertile enough and the weather often was too dry. Now today, farmers do farm in the Great Plains. However, that is because of modern technology, modern irrigation, modern fertilizer. So these people did not have that option. So they had to hunt the buffalo. They would hunt the buffalo using spears and bows and arrows, and with horses later. But early on, they had no horses because the Spanish brought the horses to America. There were no horses in America before the Spanish got here. And so they would sneak up on the buffalo, spook them, and try to scare the buffalo to run off a cliff. They would drive the buffalo off cliffs, they'd start a stampede, and that's how they would kill the buffalo. And once they killed a buffalo, they didn't waste any of it. They thought of it as a great gift from the spirit world. They would use all of it, eat all of it, use it all for clothing and tents and all the things that they needed. The Great Plains are very large, and you can see from south central Texas all the way up to Canada is where the Plains Native Americans were. So you can see the traditional headdresses. They also have some traditional dances, all the things that you see associated with all Native Americans. A lot of it is more associated with the Great Plains Native Americans than anything else. There you can see a buffalo hunt on horseback. In the east, the resources were plentiful. Therefore, the people had plenty to eat. They could hunt, fish, and farm. And so they lived in one place. They formed large villages. They started to organize government. One tribe that really formed a good government structure were the Iroquois. They lived in northern New York. They were in the woodlands. They built longhouses. But there originally were 5 tribes. There were 5 kind of weak tribes. But just like a hand spread, the fingers individually were kind of weak. But when they pulled together and formed a confederation, kind of like a fist on a hand, they became much, much stronger. And they became very powerful. And basically, they used that power to govern over the northeastern part of the United States until the British and American colonists started giving them trouble much, much later. So the Iroquois are someone we want to remember because it's kind of the first confederation or government system in the Americas. Later, the Cherokees will also form government system. Of course, the Creek and Seminole were also vast, well-developed, well-organized groups of people as well. Overall, the Native Americans, what do they have in common? In many ways, they're different, but in some ways, they also have more in common. They probably do different. Number one, they respect nature. They did not believe in destroying their resources. They did not believe in taking more from nature than they needed. And they did not want to destroy nature in any way. They believed that nature and people and plants and animals all had the Spirit in them, so they saw the Spirit everywhere and in everyone. They also believed that land was available for everyone and should be shared by everyone. They did not understand the idea, like when the Europeans came over and started putting up fences and saying, "Stay off my private property." They didn't even understand that. They thought all land should be shared and used righteously by everyone. They believed in preserving the land for the future. Again, that goes back to respecting nature. And they knew if they treated nature the right way, it can provide for them and provide for their children and their children's children and all that together. So that is Native American culture. The culture groups were different, but they also had a lot in common as well. I hope this was helpful, and we'll look at Lesson 5 tomorrow. Thank you.